One of the advantages to taking the results-driven leadership management training course is you're learning from real managers, real executives, people who have been there and done that. They've actually done your job. And believe me, I was one of those managers for a number of years. And during this course, more than any other course, this course on strategic leadership, I'm going to share with you more of the things that I learned than any other part of this training, because I was horrible at this as a manager. And let me tell you, it created struggles. It created extra work for me. It created a lot of frustration that did not have to be. And once I finally got there, my job, my teams were performing at levels never before achieved, but it took me a long time for this hard head to get there. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm going to share my scars, my bruises of what not to do, and more importantly, what I've learned through multi-decades to do in order to be more strategic as a leader. So let's first of all talk about the overview of strategic leadership. It's your ability to visualize, see where you want your team to go, create a plan, and then lead your team using that plan to get to the achievement level that you're looking for, whether it's a project, whether it's just overall numbers achievement, whether it's growth, whatever the expectations and the goal is around, is how you get there. Under this part of the training with results-driven management is it's getting it all done. And in order to get it all done, you've got to collaborate and you've got to plan. And those are really the two things that I struggled the most with for a lot of my career, is because I was of the mindset that people thought like me, that everybody could just figure things out. Why don't people think as fast as I do? Why don't people just see these ideas and get as bought in as I do, as quickly as I do, to just go make stuff happen? And after years of frustration and missteps and re-steps and setbacks, I finally got through my thick skull that I needed the plan. And it wasn't me that needed the plan, or so I told myself. It was my team that needed the plan. It was my team that needed to understand the vision and the whys and the hows and the steps to get there. You see, more than 70% of the population, they don't have the ability to think like many managers do. And the reason why you're in the position you're in, as I was, is I just was a better thinker. I thought faster. I made quick decisions. I made really good decisions. Most of the time, I made more good decisions than bad decisions. But I stood apart from my peers, which got me to the next level. And you, being in management, are one of those people. However, you cannot frustrate yourself going through your management career with why others don't think like you do, why they don't behave the way you do, because they just don't. If you go back to your DISC styles, you'll understand that dominance, influence, stability, and compliance, the bulk of the population falls under the S, or the stability behavioral line. They need clear understanding of what's expected of them. They need to understand where to start, where to end, all the steps in between. In an absence of that, they're frustrated. They become passive aggressive. Your plans don't get executed. You get frustrated. You have setbacks. It's all self-created. You may not need this clear plan. You may not need the steps. You can figure things out pretty quickly. But your team, and that was my huge aha moment, it wasn't so much what I needed, it's what my team needed. And once I came to that realization, I started dialing in some of the best practices that I'm going to be sharing with you during this course, is when I started seeing astounding improvements in my execution as a leader. Your team, to sum all this up, needs you, requires of you to be at some level of strategic. This strategery is a game changer for most managers. It can't all live up here. It's got to be shared. It's got to be written. And with those two simple steps, you'll begin the path of much improved success. Let's get into a few more of the key points in this. I'm going to give you the 3 steps that we've learned for managers to be effective as strategic leaders. And we're going to also understand, because this is also the challenge, is sometimes is that balance between working strategically and also my day-to-day matters. You still have things that you have to do. You have to be hands-on. There's certain requirements and achievements and duties that you have to perform. You can't be completely strategic all the time, but there is some portion of your day that has to be spent on your strategies and plans. So we're going to share with you the 3 best practices for being a strategic leader, which is 1, you got to identify the strategies. And I'm going to show you with you in this course how to do just that. And then most importantly, and again, where I had my opportunities was how to create the follow through to get things achieved. And then the final thing is to recognize and understand when to change course or even abandon a strategy because it's not working, it's not being effective. Don't, again, being the hard head that I always was, still am to some degree today, believing with my optimism that we'll figure it out, we'll figure it out. And sometimes we just got to fold our cards and move on. But let me help you in the beginning of this course to understand the 10 skills that a strategic leader has to have. Let's begin with the obvious, is strategic thinking. Because a strategic leader has got to be a visionary. They've got to see the goal. They've got to see where this journey is going to take their team. You've got to understand to some level of specifics what that is, and then how you're going to get there. You've got to think with the end in mind, and then work back to how you're going to get there. Number 2. You've got to utilize communication skills. Under the effective communication course, a lot of that comes into play with being a strategic leader. You've got to be able to communicate your ideas, your thoughts, your needs, collaborate, get other people's ideas and thoughts into this pool of knowledge. That's essentially vital to being able to be an effective strategic leader. Number 3, you've got to understand the steps of being a strategic planner. You've got to understand how to create goals and then the action plans, the measurables along the way of achieving those goals. It all starts with a goal. Number 4, how do I know that my team is getting where they need to go? What are the mile markers? What are the indicators that my team is moving in the direction of improvement or to the achievement that we're looking for? You've got to have objectives and key results that are measurable. And your goals always have to have something of a measurable component to it so that you know whether you're getting the score back that's showing that you're winning the game. Number 5, agility, strategic agility. You've got to have a clear vision and also understand how to move around things and why you need to move around things, understanding that nothing goes perfectly and being agile enough to make the changes in conjunction with your team, with the support of your team to get to where you want to go. Number 6, awareness. You've got to understand your actions and your moods impact your teams. And I gave you that look just now because, man, was that one of my challenges, because I was so passionate so many times and so believed in what I wanted my team to achieve without taking the steps that I'm going to share with you during this course. I shortcutted things. I just was doing it with just pure bull power trying to make stuff happen. And that did not make me very popular with some of the people who worked with me. You've got to stop and think and understand, hold a mirror up to yourself, understand how your mood, your behaviors have either a positive or a negative impact on the buy-in, the gain that your team's going to have in supporting you in achieving your mission. Number 7, trust and reliability. Your team has to trust you. You've got to have a level of integrity that you're going to say and do exactly what needs to be said and done. And if you make a commitment, you've got to stick with that commitment. And going back to effective communication, if something's not working out, you've got to be open and honest about that. That's a level of integrity that many managers do their ego want to protect and to hide. It's okay to make mistakes. Let your team make mistakes. They're going to trust you more for being able to do that. And you also have to be committed. And with your commitment, your team will also feed off of that commitment to put the energy into achieving the goals that you're looking for. You've got to be reliable, do what you say you're going to do, and stick with it until you and your team decide to do otherwise, or you achieve the mission. Number 8, execution. This takes on a lot of different definitions, and it's really just the implementation of your plan. The best plan in the world is not going to execute itself. It's going to take your leadership, and it's going to take the buy-in, commitment, and the actions of your team to get there. And without your team supporting you, surrounding you, and doing what they need to do to achieve it, you're going to have a very difficult time, if not making it impossible, to achieve your goals. But if you've got a high level of commitment, integrity, and utilizing the steps around execution, and I'm going to share with you further on in this course, you'll turn your goals and your action plans into results. This is how it works. Number 9, integrity. Talked a little bit about that previously, but you've got to be grounded in integrity and compassion, and it's such an important part of being able to get the buy-in and the support from your team. You've got to do what you say you're going to do. And then number 10, management. You've got to understand how to lead a team. You've got to be able to allocate the resources, the people, the time, empower your team in order to get to where you need your team to go and achieve your mission or achieve your goal. You've got to manage the process of executing your strategic plan. It will not do it itself. They will not do it on their own. You've got to have a steady hand and involvement to different degrees, depending on the size of your team, the quality of your team, the experience of your team, in order to achieve what you're looking to achieve. So that's the 10 best practices, skill sets of being a strategic leader. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to actually create a strategy.